From the BBC World Service, in association with ABC and Akashvani, this is Stumped.
Hello and welcome to Stumped, your intercontinental hit of news, features and debate from the quirky world of cricket. I'm Alison Mitchell in London, where I've got my niece and nephew staying with me at the moment for Easter holidays. So after this, it could be a little bit more mini-golf, could be off to Kew Gardens, could be cricket in the park, could be a whole host of things. It's been good fun. Also keeping across the Women's World Cup qualifiers taking place in Pakistan, where there was a big upset for Scotland over West Indies.
I'm Clint, Wheeldon, filling in for Jim Maxwell for the ABC. I'm in Perth, and in Australia at the moment we're all wondering what might have been, as Will Bukowski has announced his retirement at just 27. He'll always be known as a one-test wonder who did hit that half-century on debut against India back in 2021, but now has had to retire due to those ongoing battles with concussion. We wish him all the very best into the future, but goodness me, what a player he could have been if he hadn't had those issues.
Absolutely. I'm Sunil Gupta for Akashvani in New Delhi, where along with the unusually hot weather for the early part of April, it is an unusual IPL, where last year's runner-up is right at the bottom of the table. Serial winners like Mumbai Indians and Chennai Super Kings are also languishing at the bottom, and three never-before winners, including Punjab Kings, our friends at RCB, and also Delhi Capitals are right at the top. And of course, you'll be very happy, Clint, that Punjab is being led by none other than the one and only Ricky Ponting.
We're going to get a bit more into the IPL just now, Sunil. Good to have you both with me. And also coming up on the show, we're going to be finding out about the life of a cricket agent and what it is like to manage one of the star players of the game. But yes, we are a third of the way through the 2025 Indian Premier League, and that table is slowly starting to take shape. But this week, the name on everyone's lips has been former India captain MS Dhoni, because there was talk of a potential retirement after his parents were spotted in the stands in his match against Delhi Capitals. But Dhoni, who's 43, has quashed those rumours, saying that he's going to carry on playing in the tournament and he'll take it, quotes, 1 year at a time. So, Neil, how much noise has there been around MS in India? I mean, do you think this year could still end up being his last? Should it be?
Should, I don't know. Will, also I don't know. But the way things are going, it's probable. Because, when you come in at number 9 and you're their star player, there is something wrong with you. And the coach, Stephen Fleming, as well said he can't do 10 overs at the same clip. Now, when you say that about a T20 player who's leading the team, or who's not leading the team, but he's really leading the team, you've got to think about, is he playing on fumes? Is he running on fumes? Now, the question about his parents being there, well, so was his daughter. So that doesn't say very much whether he's going to retire or not. I think he will find the time. I think the buzz is getting louder for him. He's not performing. They're not winning. He's coming in. Okay, he came at number 9. He came at number 5. He came at number 6. But he is not really doing what he's doing. And as well as the team isn't performing. They don't have the enforcers at the top. The bowlers aren't really bowling too well. So it's all become one big clump in terms of MS Dhoni. I think the issue with him is if he's able to resuscitate the team and bring them at least to the top half and start doing things, then all those rumours will die down. But let me tell you, that adulation for Dhoni, wherever he goes, he was playing in Punjab. And I'm sure if you saw that stadium, it was more than half yellow. So that is the type of adulation and following he has in India. So it's very difficult to give that up.
Clint, there's something in that, isn't there? I mean, yeah, he might be batting low down the order. We might be hearing the likes of Wasim Jafar. I was reading a quote from him, the former India opener, saying, if he can't make an impact with the bat, he should be making a way for a youngster right now. But there's also this, I won't say unquantifiable measure, because there's a very quantifiable commercial measure that MS Dhoni has in this team for the fans.
There is that entertainment factor that they turn up to see him play. And I know Justin Langer has written about this, about wherever you go, there's a massive yellow who are there not to support CSK, but to support MS Dhoni. And the roar whenever he walks out is something to behold. So I understand why that's an issue. I would say about, does he need to step down for a youngster? It's not the sort of league where you have to get games into the kids. Like, it's not that sort of league. It is about whether or not you're winning. I understand there's those issues. The impact player, though, being able to come in as like the designated hitter, I get why if he still thinks, or if they still think that he can play some sort of a role, even if it's not the 10 overs, then maybe having his experience around the team, you don't have to be the captain if you're contributing in that sense. And he might even end up being the captain again, we read, depending upon other injuries at this point in time. The old saying that goes for youngsters, if you're good enough, you're old enough. Well, it works the other way too. If you're good enough, it doesn't matter how old you are. So I had a look at his figures. Strike rate of 153.73, 103 runs from 5 innings, an average of, well, a little bit less than he would be liking at the moment, but still a reasonable high score. And also, I guess there's that challenge too where you mentioned the fans, but it's a bit tough where we've seen occasions when he was batting at 9 when the CSK fans were actually cheering their own players getting out so Dhoni can get out there and get into the middle. I mean, I've never seen anything like that ever in cricket anywhere around the world. So I still think that if he's got some sort of a role to play, then I can understand why they use him. I know Mike Hussey was trying to play, pardon the pun, a very straight bat to all those sort of questions, but I do tend to go back that he's at the age where these sort of discussions are going to come up.
And it's very difficult, Sunil, for somebody higher up in the team to make a decision for MS Dhoni. I mean, could you ever imagine him effectively being dropped or deposed from his position? It's going to come from him, isn't it?
Not in this world. It isn't. It's not going to happen. You've got to hand it to Dhoni about one thing. He's a sensible guy. I mean, we saw what happened in Australia 2014 when he went out of the Test captaincy in the middle of the series. Not the best thing to do, but he realized he wasn't really performing over there. At the end of the day, he's been India's most successful captain. You've got to hand it to him, right? A one-day T20 Cup, a one-day cup, a Champions Trophy, you name it. But yes, I think he would see his role now going forward more as a mentor, right? Where he's there in the dugout and the stars guy. I mean, the fans can see the star inside over there. He can talk to the players on the field, in the breaks and so on and so forth. So they don't miss him. He can inspire the others to do better. I think that's really what is required. Personally, if I were him, I'd choose to do that next year. This year, no, he's not going anywhere, at least the way that I see it right now. My son, please, he wants to go and see in Delhi only Dhoni. He doesn't want to see anybody else. It's even more than Kohli, if I can say so. It's even more than, that is saying something.
Yeah, we're sort of lucky, haven't we? We've lived through this era of the Tendulkar factor, then the Dhoni factor and the Kohli factor. And, for Dhoni, read Tendulkar sort of, when he was towards the end of his career, the adulation. And we're very lucky that we're able to live in this era of these absolute megastars of the game. And it's a kind of sadness to think that, those days, it's going to come to an end of seeing Dhoni walk out with bat in hand at some point. But he's saying not right now, at the very least. But someone who we are seeing back in competitive action at the moment, and great to see as well, is fast bowler Jasprit Bumrah, because he's had 3 months out with that back injury that he picked up. He's been out since the final test of the Border Gavaskar Trophy against Australia in early January. Unfortunately for him, his side Mumbai Indians lost to RCB on his comeback, but Bumrah bowled his 4 overs, didn't take a wicket, but only went for 29 runs. And Sunil, it just seemed that, 93 days out of action, he just slipped straight back into it.
Yeah, it did seem that, but I'm sure if you looked at him, he was easing into his bowling spell. He wasn't bowling full tilt. You could make that out as well. And eventually there's a thing called muscle memory as well. I'm sure you guys know that, right? You play sport. I play sport. If I go and play tennis after 2 months, or the first day I could go and play in the US Open. The second day, I don't think I've ever picked up a racket. So it's like that. So it will come back. I think for him too, this is the second time he's been out with a very serious injury. And the England tour is coming up. That's the big one, seriously, for India as well. So I think even the franchise owners recognize that, and they're not going to push him. So I think you're right. He's going to come in. He was very good with what he did. Well, even then, 29 runs in 4 overs, ain't that good, ain't that bad. So we'll see what happens in the next game. But I'm glad he's back, because India really needs him on that tour of England.
And Virat Kohli as well, because in terms of his overall career record, he's become the first Indian to 13,000 T20 runs. Can you just put that number into context for us, Sunil? And, how long do you think he can carry on churning out the T20 runs as well?
There's one thing about Kohli, whatever you might say of his, tribulations of the last 2, 3, 4 years, he is hungry. He is proud. He's a proud man. He knows what he was doing wrong. Sometimes it just happens to you. I think he's pulled himself together. He's the fittest man on that field, I can tell you, at his age. I was taking a look at his stats. Now, I have 5 people here. There's Gale, there's Alex Hales, there's Shoaib Malik, there's Pollard, and there's Kohli. Now, Kohli has made his 13,000 runs in 403 matches and 386 innings. I want you to put that in context. With Pollard, it's 617 innings for 13,530. And if you go up to Gale, it's 455 innings for 14,500 runs. So it's not just the fact that he's crossed this particular milestone, but the speed in which he's done it.
From the BBC World Service, this is Stumped on Akashvani.
Well, next on Stumped, we love hearing from cricketers all around the world, but what is it like managing one of those stars and those who are aspiring to that level? What's the life of a cricket agent actually like? Well, Cameron Richardson manages Australia's Ashes winning star, leg spinner Alana King, as well as women's Big Bash champion Gemma Barsby, amongst a host of domestic talents, all looking to scale the heights. Cameron, welcome to Stumped.
Thanks, Alison. Thanks for having me. That's appreciated.
It's great to have you on. You predominantly manage women cricketers, which wouldn't have been the case for any agents, a decade ago, say. We'll come to that in a minute, but I want to start with what a typical day looks like for you, or is there no such thing in the life of an agent?
No such thing as a typical day. It's so varied. You really, from one day to the next, you don't, unless you've got meetings scheduled or you're working on projects, which I often do, you don't know what's going to come up, especially at any point in time. You got 3 sort of distinct phases of the season, if you like, the pre-season. So you're hoping all your players will stay fit and healthy and they get through the pre-season. So often when the phone rings in, you answer it with a bit of trepidation. Then the season itself, and you can see what's actually unfolding because you're either at the games or you're watching them on television or on a live stream, but you know what's coming depending on how the player goes in that particular game or group of games. And then you like now where you've got post-season where there's a little bit of downtime for everyone, but for me or for all the agents that represent players, this post-season is actually our season. This is the grand final, so to speak. The female contracting here in Australia is due to start next week, and the WBBL contracting just reopened. This is where you're trying to get your business done and make sure your players are secured for the following season or hopefully multiple seasons.
Cameron, we talk a lot about player burnout being an issue for players, but for an agent, I would imagine player burnout and a player needing rest means that the player and the agent could possibly lose out on income. So how do you balance those things when you're talking about the players and what they might find themselves signing up for?
I've always put the players' interests first and foremost, and I could probably speak with authority on this one, and Alana is probably a perfect example. And you may have just seen the news break. We've just signed with Lancashire for the Vitality Blast, and that initial approach came on day one of the MCG Test match, or after day one, the evening of. And my first comment when I didn't broach it with Kingy until obviously after the Test match had finished. And my first comment and thought to her was, mate, I don't want you to burn out. It's never for me been about the money or the income. The player's interest is paramount. That was the very first thing I actually said to her. But then we worked through it, and she said she'll be fine, and we've all arrived that it's the thing that she wants to do, and it's a good thing for her, and she's comfortable being on the road for an extra 2 months. She hardly gets to see her home in Perth. From my perspective, Clint, it's totally if the player is up for it.
You mentioned Alana King. I'm lucky enough to get to see often bowl for the Perth Scorchers. She's been exceptional for Australia. She took 23 wickets across the women's Ashes. She was the star of the series. What did you immediately think? What was your first impressions when you first saw Alana King?
I met Kingy through a previous guest you've had on the show, Carl Sandry. Carl and myself are the long-time friends and acquaintances in cricket. Carl said to me when he started coaching Paran women's team, he said, Richo, I've got this leg spinner. She's a gun. Spins it big. And I went, okay. So I heard she'd gone up to a Cricket Australia spin camp up at the Centre of Excellence as a 19-year-old and had the highest spin rate of anyone at the camp. And I know from memory, I think Warne was very much the same as a young guy. So obviously I was keen to meet her, and I thought we could have anything on our hands here. And then you'd watch her bowl in state cricket and in the early days of the WBBL, and you just knew that there was, just a special talent.
Immediately you saw her, she reminded you of someone.
Oh, Shane Warne, there's no, I mean, she'll be probably embarrassed me saying it, and it probably is, to be honest. I mean, we all compare it to Shane, and there really is no comparison. Let's be perfectly honest about that. But when you do look at the level of spin that Alana can get, and there have been some comparisons. I don't know, when Kingy took a big wicket in India for Australia a few years ago, the differential in spin and the angle isn't a great deal. It really isn't. But obviously, Warne was able to do it over 5 days to test batters for all his career. And I know Alana doesn't really like the comparisons to Shane. They're naturally going to happen. I get a little bit emotional, to be honest, when I think about it. But watching the bowling from the Shane Warne at the MCG, it was quite iconic. And it's like the great man's memory were able to live on through Kingy. And I'm sure Australian cricket fans really appreciate that, because it became part of our DNA that we just had the world's best spinner that was just able to rip through the opposition. Now we've got the world's best spinner that's just able to rip through the opposition.
Cameron, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us on Stumped. Good luck for the year ahead.
Thanks for having me.
That is Cameron Richardson with an insight into the life of a cricket agent. He manages Australian star Alana King. Well, that's all we've got time for on this week's Stumped for Akash Varney. Don't forget you can follow us on X. We're at BBCWS Sports, and use the hashtag BBC Stumped. And check us out on YouTube as well. Go to the BBC World Service on YouTube. My thanks to Sunil, Gupta, Clint, Wheeldon, and to all of you for listening. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Stumped is a BBC Sport production for the BBC World Service in association with ABC and Akash Varney.